New York Yankees fans have been keeping a close eye on spring training, and one of the names that continues to spark excitement is George Lombard Jr. The more you watch this kid play, the harder it is not to imagine a very bright future ahead of him. It is not just about flashes of talent here and there. What really stands out is the complete package. He looks like a baseball player who understands a game, who carries himself with confidence, and who is not afraid of big moments even at such a young stage of his career. One moment that really grabbed attention recently came against one of the most dominant pitchers in the league, Garrett Crochet. Lombard stepped up to the plate and wasted absolutely no time making a statement. Leading off the game, he launched a home run against Crochet, a pitcher who has been one of the toughest arms to face in the division. That kind of moment during spring training instantly gets people talking, not just because of the result, but because of the way Lombard handled the at-bat. He looked comfortable, patient, and ready for the challenge. Later in the same game, Lombard managed to collect another hit off Crochet, this time a single. Again, this is spring training, and pitchers are still building rhythm and working through their mechanics. Everyone understands that. But even with that context, seeing a young prospect go toe-to-toe with a pitcher of that caliber and come out looking confident is an encouraging sign. It tells you that the stage is not too big for him, and that he has the kind of mindset that could translate well when the stakes are higher. What makes Lombard even more interesting is the background he brings to the field. There is a strong baseball pedigree behind him, and sometimes that kind of environment helps shape a player who already understands the professional mentality before even reaching the highest levels of the sport. But pedigree alone does not create a top prospect. The skill set has to be there, and in Lombard's case, it clearly is. Last season was not perfect for him, especially once he reached Double-A. After performing well in High A with Hudson Valley and earning the promotion, his offensive numbers cooled down a bit. By the time the season wrapped up, his OPS was sitting around 694 in Double-A. That is not the kind of number that jumps off the page. For a young player adjusting to tougher competition, though, those struggles can sometimes be part of the process. Even during those offensive challenges, Lombard continued to show something extremely valuable. His defense remained outstanding. No matter where the team asked him to play, he delivered. Third base, second base, shortstop, it did not seem to matter. He moved around the infield and handled every assignment with impressive consistency. That kind of versatility is something organizations love because it gives them options and flexibility. Still, when you watch him closely, it is hard not to imagine him as a long-term shortstop. There is something about the way he moves at that position that just looks natural. The instincts, the range, the smoothness of his actions all point to a player who could anchor that spot defensively for years if everything develops the right way. When a young infielder can make the difficult plays look routine, people start paying attention very quickly. This spring training has already offered a glimpse of that potential growth. Lombard has been putting together solid at-bats, and the numbers reflect that early momentum. Through his first handful of appearances, he has collected 4 hits in 12 at-bats, which translates to a batting average of 333. On top of that, he has already driven in 6 runs and drawn 5 walks while striking out only 3 times. Those are the types of balanced offensive numbers that show a hitter is seeing the ball well and making smart decisions at the plate. For a top prospect in the organization, that kind of performance is exactly what you want to see during the early stages of camp. It does not guarantee success later in the season, but it builds confidence and momentum. It also sends a message that the player is learning from past experiences and continuing to grow. For Lombard, the key will be carrying this approach into the upcoming Double-A season with Somerset. If he can build on what he is showing right now and start producing consistently at that level, things could move quickly. Baseball prospects sometimes take time to climb through the minor leagues, but occasionally you see a player who catches fire and suddenly accelerates that timeline. Lombard has the tools and the maturity to potentially do exactly that. And if everything clicks for him during the upcoming season, it is not impossible to imagine him pushing his way closer to the major league conversation sooner than many people expect. He is still very young, which makes his current level of poise even more impressive. Young players often need time to adjust, to figure things out, and to find their identity on the field. Lombard already seems to carry himself like someone who knows exactly what he wants to become. Of course, he is not the only young name drawing attention in camp. Another player who continues to generate discussion is Jason Dominguez. Every time you look at the box score, it feels like Dominguez managed to pick up another hit. Offensively, he has been doing exactly what people hope to see from him. The swing looks sharp, the timing appears strong, and he is consistently putting the ball in play with authority. Even so, when you take a step back and look at the roster situation, it becomes clear that making the opening day lineup will not be easy for him. The Yankees have invested heavily in their outfield, bringing in players like Trent Grisham and Cody Bellinger. When a team commits that kind of money and expectation to veteran players, those guys are going to receive the first opportunity to take the field when the season begins. That reality likely means Dominguez will begin the year in Triple-A with Scranton, where the focus will be on playing every day and continuing to refine his game. And honestly, that might not be the worst scenario for his development. Regular at-bats, consistent playing time, and the chance to dominate at that level could help him arrive in the major leagues even more prepared when the moment finally comes. If Dominguez does begin the season in Triple-A, the mission will be very clear for him. Go down there, take advantage of every single at-bat, and show the organization that he is forcing their hand. That has always been the path for young players who are waiting for an opportunity. You dominate the level you are in, you keep improving, and eventually the big league club has no choice but to give you a shot. The reality of baseball rosters is that opportunities sometimes come from unexpected situations. Injuries happen, slumps happen, and depth is tested throughout the long season. If Dominguez is producing the way many expect him to in Scranton, then the moment a door opens, he could be one of the first names the Yankees look at. That is why the early signs in spring training are encouraging. He looks comfortable at the plate and confident in his approach. One detail that stood out recently was an at-bat where Dominguez hit from the right side against Garrett Crochet. For a switch hitter like him, developing consistency from both sides of the plate is extremely important. In that particular moment, he drove the ball the other way. It ended up being a fly out, but the approach itself was promising. Sometimes a well-struck ball that results in an out can still reveal a lot about a hitter's progress. That type of contact is far more encouraging than a strikeout, where the hitter never really looks competitive in the at-bat. Dominguez seemed locked in, tracking the pitch well and staying within his swing. Those are the small details coaches and scouts pay attention to during spring training. They want to see signs that a player is adjusting, learning, and continuing to polish his game. While Dominguez focuses on earning his chance, there is also another name that keeps appearing in conversations about the Yankees' future outfield. Spencer Jones is right there in the mix as well. Jones has been climbing through the system with a lot of attention surrounding his athleticism and power potential. In many ways, the competition between these young players could end up pushing both of them to improve even faster. Jones offers a slightly different profile, especially defensively. When it comes to playing center field, many observers believe he has the advantage. His size, speed, and range give him the tools to cover a lot of ground in the outfield. Dominguez has spent most of his professional career in center field too, but the organization has experimented with moving him around to different spots. The coaching staff has spoken about the possibility of using Dominguez more in left field, which could allow the team to maximize the defensive strengths of other outfielders if needed. At the same time, there has been openness to the idea of using him in center field again if the situation calls for it. That flexibility could become important later in the season, depending on how the roster evolves. We have seen similar adjustments before with other players. Sometimes a young player tries one position at the major league level, struggles to feel comfortable, and then thrives after moving somewhere else on the field. Baseball is full of those examples. A player might spend years developing at one spot in the minor leagues, but once they reach the majors, the team finds a different role that ultimately helps them succeed. Because of that, it would not be surprising if the Yankees continue experimenting with Dominguez's defensive positioning as he develops. The main priority right now is making sure his offensive game keeps progressing. If he is hitting consistently and forcing his name into the conversation, the team will find ways to use his talent when the time is right. Meanwhile, the conversation around Trent Grisham has been a bit different during this stretch of spring training. His numbers early in camp have not been particularly impressive. Through his first group of at-bats, his batting average has been sitting at 71. That kind of number definitely catches attention, and not in a good way. However, spring training statistics can be very misleading. Players are working on specific adjustments, experimenting with mechanics, and building rhythm after the long off-season. It is not unusual to see established players struggle early in camp while they focus on preparing their bodies and timing for the regular season. That context is important before jumping to conclusions about any player. Still, when a number is that low, fans naturally start talking about it. A batting average of 71 over 14 at-bats is not the type of start anyone wants, even in exhibition games. The hope for Grisham and the team is that things begin to click as he gets more repetitions and finds his rhythm before opening day arrives. The real evaluation will begin once the regular season starts. That is when every at-bat truly counts and when players settle into their normal routines. If Grisham comes out and performs the way the Yankees expect him to, then the entire conversation changes. The focus will shift back to winning games and building momentum early in the season. But if the struggles were to continue into the summer months, that is where the pressure could start building. Imagine a scenario where the calendar flips to June and Grisham is hitting around 190 or maybe barely above 200. In that situation, the Yankees would have to start evaluating their options very carefully. At the same time, if Dominguez is tearing the cover off the ball in Triple-A and Spencer Jones is putting together strong performances as well, the competition for that roster spot would suddenly become very real. Teams want production, and when young players prove they are ready, organizations sometimes make bold decisions to shake things up. That is the fascinating part about following a team with a deep farm system. There are always talented players waiting for their opportunity. Every strong performance in the minor leagues adds another layer of pressure on a major league roster, creating a constant battle for playing time. For Yankees fans, watching the development of Lombard, Dominguez, and Jones at the same time creates a sense that the future could be very exciting. These are players with high ceilings, different skill sets, and the kind of talent that can shape the direction of a franchise over the next several years. Spring training might only offer small glimpses of what is coming, but sometimes those glimpses are enough to spark the imagination. When a young prospect steps into the batter's box against a top pitcher and delivers a big swing, or when another prospect quietly strings together quality at-bats day after day, it becomes impossible not to start thinking about what the next chapter might look like for the Yankees. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. In a twist that has sent shockwaves through New York baseball circles, whispers are growing louder that Juan Soto could be heading across the city in one of the most controversial moves imaginable. According to emerging speculation around the league, the Mets star may be preparing to sign with the Yankees, a move that would instantly ignite one of the fiercest rivalries in sports. Soto, widely regarded as one of the most electrifying hitters of his generation, became a centerpiece of the Mets' ambitions when he arrived in Queens. His bat, discipline at the plate, and superstar presence made him the type of player a franchise builds around. Fans quickly embraced him as a cornerstone of the Mets' future, a player expected to lead the club through the next era of contention. But baseball's rumor mill rarely sleeps, and the latest talk suggests something few Mets supporters want to imagine. Soto, returning to the Bronx, this time wearing Yankees pinstripes again. Sources around the sport describe a growing belief that the Yankees remain deeply interested in bringing Soto back to their lineup. The possibility has fueled speculation that negotiations behind the scenes may already be underway, raising questions about whether the Mets could lose their marquee star to their most hated rival. If such a move were to happen, it would feel like a betrayal for many in Queens. Players crossing between the two New York franchises is rare enough, but a superstar doing so at the height of his powers would take the rivalry to an entirely new level. For Yankees fans, the mere thought of Soto anchoring the lineup again is enough to spark excitement. His presence would represent another powerful addition to a roster always chasing October glory. For Mets supporters, however, the scenario feels closer to a nightmare than a dream. Inside clubhouses across the league, people are watching closely. Some dismiss the rumors as typical New York noise. Others insist there is more substance behind the speculation than many realize. For now, nothing is confirmed. Yet in a city where baseball drama never stays quiet for long, the possibility of Juan Soto switching sides is already dominating conversations and threatening to turn the New York rivalry into an even more explosive story. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.